Welcome to another episode of Touring the AFC South. I am your host, Mike Patton. And on this episode, we will be talking about free agency. Man, has it been exciting looking at all these signings, and some of them not expected and some of them expected. Just like, yeah, it's been interesting. It's definitely been interesting to watch and see unfold. We're going to get into that with all four teams in the AFC South. That's the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Indianapolis Colts, the Tennessee Titans, and the Houston Texans in just one moment. But like we do with every episode, we open it up with the Get It Off Your Chest segment. And this time, it has nothing to do with sports. We're going to talk about Southwest Airlines. Now, if you've been living under a rock today, or if you've been living under a rock, you might have missed that Southwest Airlines said that they're going to start charging for bags. Now, for those that don't know, Southwest Airlines is one of the few airlines that did not charge for bags at all. And now, coming in May, they're going to start doing so. Now, there's a bunch of money out there. There's like 5.5 billion, or there's a lot of money that is in getting, paying for bags that people pay for. But this is the reason why people choose Southwest and why people enjoy flying on Southwest, because they don't charge bags. So now if you become just like everyone else, what is the allure to keep coming? There better be prices. That's the only thing I can think of. But this kind of reminds me of a certain thing that happened back in 2011 when banks were starting to charge customers a fee for their debit cards. Now, when this happened, people were irate. People did not like it at all. And guess what? It didn't last very long. It only lasted maybe, a month in some cases. And, I know wherever I was banking with, it only lasted a month. So for this instance, I wonder if this is going to be a long-term thing, or if this is going to be something that ends early because of just the dissatisfaction of customers that have been with Southwest and flying Southwest for so long with the free bags and things like that. So I just wonder how long this will go. But definitely not a popular decision, and they're getting a lot of backlash on social media, as they probably should. So, you want to be like the other airlines and get this and get that and the other and get these monies every which way you can, which I understand in the business. I understand that. But when you make your money and you're the preferred airline of a lot of people because you don't make people pay for bags, then therein lies the problem. We'll see what happens, but I'm not digging this decision by Southwest Airlines. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that aren't. All right, that's the Get Off Your Chest segment for this episode. Yeah, I had to step outside the lines of sports in that one. Yeah, and I'm not digging the stuff with Southwest Airlines at all. But what some people are digging is some of these free agent signings that have happened out here. Boy, oh boy, some money has been doled out in this last couple of days. Man, if I could only been like 6'1", 6'2", maybe about 205, maybe play wide receiver, maybe play linebacker. I don't know. Something, just some sort of just bigger, faster, and stronger. Maybe I'd had a couple checks in the NFL. Maybe so. But hey, I'm here with you, and I'm here telling you about the people that did have those characteristics to get that big money. We're going to start off with Jacksonville and the Jacksonville free agency. Of course, it's Mr. Gladstone down there and Mr. Liam Cohen, Mr. Duval. They're doing their free agency for the first time together as a duo. And it was interesting. Of course, the first thing they went after was, of course, the linemen. They went after that. We talked about all those different things. And, you got your three linemen, basically. Your Robert Haney, which basically he is a guy that's connected to Liam Cohen from his Tampa Bay days as offensive coordinator. You got Patrick McCarry, which is a versatile offensive lineman from Baltimore that's going to help and potentially, step in and do some things there. You do have a few other another piece I believe they signed as well, offensive line, but you get the point. They were determined to take a look at that offensive line and make it better because Jacksonville hasn't necessarily been great when it comes to their offensive line the last couple of years. It's great that they're taking a look at that. And of course, they needed those pieces as well. With as much as Trevor Lawrence has been hit and as much as that running game hasn't necessarily been great, they needed those pieces in that offensive line. But that isn't all that they signed. The first signing they had was Jordan Lewis, cornerback from the Dallas Cowboys. Yes, from the Dallas Cowboys. They signed him to 3 years, $30 million with $25 million guaranteed, making him the highest paid nickelback in the NFL. Yes, the highest paid nickelback in the NFL. A year after they paid Darnell Savage, by the way. But from what I'm hearing, it ain't all sweet with Darnell Savage right now in Jacksonville. But that's just what I'm saying. But anyway, they did sign him. It's going to be an interesting signing because he's strictly a slot corner. They needed something in their secondary. Their secondary was one of the worst secondaries in the NFL last year, despite the money doled out. Yeah, they were one of the worst secondaries in the NFL. So they needed some revamping back there. And Jordan Lewis is a key piece. I know a piece that Dallas wanted to keep. However, they weren't able to. Like a lot of times it happens. Dallas let a piece get away. But hey, it is what it is. They also signed safety Eric Murray from the Houston Texans, by the way. Makes things a little spicier between those two, right? He did play some slot in Houston. He played slot and did a few things there. But now he's more than likely going to be a full-time safety, which all indications are he's going to be a starter for the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is good for his career, of course, obviously. He has 3 years, $22 million, $12 million guaranteed. Definitely good things for him, being able to go somewhere where he can actually start and play and I guess not be considered a stopgap guy. Now, one guy you might want to watch out for is Dyami Brown. Now, they signed him, from the Washington Commanders, going to be more of a speed guy, I believe, on the outside. They're going to move Brian Thomas around per Cameron Wolf. Listening to him on the NFL Network, they're talking about moving Brian Thomas around and building the offense around him in terms of the passing game. And, one of those places is a slot. Dyami Brown on the outside. Definitely, needed to add some speed. You still have Gabe Davis there. So you do have some talented wide receivers there. The consistency is definitely there for Brian Thomas. Dyami Brown definitely showed up a little bit more this year. And it's going to be interesting to see if Mr. Gabe Davis can be more consistent when he's on the field. We'll see what happens when it comes to that. Hunter Long definitely brought in a tight end. Of course, Evan Ingram's not there anymore. So it'll be interesting just to see his fit. Liam Cohen, I believe he knows Hunter Long from his Rams days. And, of course, Gladstone, the GM, knows him specifically from his Rams days. So, the connection there between those three right there, it kind of lines it all up. It'll be interesting just to see how those additions add to the Rams team and the Jaguars team, and helps them to get better next season because last season was pretty doggone bad for them. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to get into the Indianapolis Colts and talk about their free agency splurging. And, definitely a little bit different from Mr. Chris Ballard. He usually don't spend money like this, but he spent a pretty penny this time. I'm going to get into that more after this commercial break on Touring the AFC South.
EBO Beard Butter and EBO Beard Wash are two of the best beard grooming products for men worldwide. They help promote growth, keep your beard moisturized and soft, and enhance your overall upkeep of your facial hair. And with the new promo code MPAFC10, you can get 10% off on these products. Just go to www.etsy.com/shop/EBO Beard Butter. Again, that's www.etsy.com/shop/EBO Beard Butter. And again, the promo code MPAFC10. Again, MPAFC10, where you can get 10% off any products except for beard boxes. So treat your beard better today by going to get this the EBO Beard Butter at EBO Beard Watch.
All right, and we are back on touring the AFC South. And like I mentioned before the commercial break, we are going to talk about these Indianapolis Colts. Now, last year was about keeping the band together. You know, they brought back everybody. They signed Raekwon Davis, which they in turn cut this offseason. But this offseason, they did things just a little bit differently. I think Chris Ballard's feeling a little bit of the heat. Now, a couple of these signings I like. One of these signings has got me scratching my head. I'm going to get into one that scratches my head, makes me scratch my head a little bit later. But we're going to talk about the two good signings that I think in this one. One of those good signings, in my opinion, is a Mr. Charvarius Ward. Yes, Charvarius Ward, the former San Francisco 49ers corner, is signing with the Indianapolis Colts, 3 years, $60 million, $35 million guaranteed. Now, with the Lou Anarumo and his defense, you've got a corner that can play zone, can play man, and is physical. Fits his defense to a T. If you notice, when they made their run to the Super Bowl, I'm not saying that Charvarius Ward and Eli Apple were the same person, but Eli Apple was pretty physical outside, and you know the pass rush was getting there, so and you know the pressure was getting there. So you know I can imagine Charvarius Ward in this defense being a physical guy, being a disruptor out there, and being someone that definitely is able to make a few plays. You know, I would say I'm not saying he's Eli Apple in terms of you know in a Lou Anarumo off defense, but he is a physical corner out there, and definitely, in my opinion, is better than Eli Apple was. Another guy that they signed is Cam Bynum. Yes, he who dance a lot. Now, if you watch the Minnesota Vikings, this safety was definitely doing all the choreographed dances. He did the dance from White Chicks. I don't know if you all have seen that movie. He did Parent Trap. There's a few other dances he did in the end zone as well. Or choreographed with his team, I should say. I am sorely looking forward to what he creates with this Indianapolis Colts defense, because I'm pretty sure he's going to bring all this to Indianapolis. But other than that, he had 3 interceptions last year, which is a career high. He played an aggressive scheme last year with Brian Flores, who former Miami Dolphins head coach, who is now the defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings. He's been there for a couple years now, and that defense was aggressive, blitzed a lot. The thing was trying to confuse the quarterback and put heat on him at the same time. He fits perfectly for what Lou Anarumo wants to do defensively. I mean, he's a guy that can cover. He's a guy that can blitz. He can do a lot of different things like a Swiss Army knife when it comes to a safety, and he fits perfectly for what that they want to do back there. So, I definitely would say he's a very, very good fit. He got a 4-year, $60 million deal with $30 million guaranteed. Big money. Now, this is big for Chris Ballard because usually Chris Ballard, you really don't see him splurging for the free agents like this. So this is atypical for him. I bet he is feeling the heat. Now, speaking of feeling the heat, Anthony Richardson definitely got the heat turned up on him when Chris Ballard, Coach GM, said that there would be a quarterback brought in for competition for Anthony Richardson this offseason. Now, plenty wondered who it would be. I actually mentioned Justin Fields at one point, but there was rumors talking about Daniel Jones, and those rumors got louder and louder and louder and louder until they actually happened. A 1-year, $14 million deal to come in and compete with Anthony Richardson. Now, I'm going to be honest. When I look at Daniel Jones, I don't really look at competition for Anthony Richardson. Now, if Anthony Richardson doesn't step up to the plate and continue to grow and get better and take things seriously, that Daniel Jones is competition, then by all means, Daniel Jones will take the position. But if that happens, then it's probably bye-bye to Anthony Richardson in Indianapolis. But I think Anthony Richardson does what he needs to do. Daniel Jones is going to continue to be Daniel Jones. Now, I will say this offense does fit him in terms of, does the quarterback runs, the little things like that. Maybe, there are a few different other things that fit him in this offense. However, this is Anthony Richardson, his offense. It is not a Daniel Jones offense. If Daniel Jones beats him out for this position, then yeah, you've got to be looking squarely at the front office and just the development of Anthony Richardson, especially if the season goes bad. If the season goes bad, there might be jobs on the line in terms of there's jobs on the line now. Let's be perfectly honest. But as far as Shane Steichen, yeah, it's getting really, really critical right now. And to me, I understand bringing in Daniel Jones, but do I think he's serious competition? The jury's still out on that one for me. So to me, that's what I got when it comes to the Indianapolis Colts. Now they do have to replace center Ryan Kelly. He did sign with the Minnesota Vikings. However, they were, people were kind of on the fence about him because, he does, he was injured and oft injured during his career, and he is older now. So, I kind of understand them not bringing him back. Now, the other one that did hurt is you have Will Fries leaving, I believe, on to Minnesota as well. So, that those two hurt. Those two hurt. Will Fries probably hurts more because, they needed another guard in there. So they're gonna, probably, go through the draft class, bring a guy they've kind of been, I guess, putting together or, conditioning to take over that spot. Probably going to do the same at center. We'll see what happens when it comes to the Colts there, but that's an interesting question that has not been answered yet and might not be answered until the season starts. Another team, we're gonna flip over from the Colts and going to slide over into the Houston Texans, which they were the division winners last year. And actually, I'm sorry, we're going to go to the Tennessee Titans next. My apologies. We're going to go to the Tennessee Titans next when it comes to looking over the division and looking over, their free agency. Now, it was pretty quiet for a while when it came to the Tennessee Titans, but when they made a splash, they surely made a splash. They have been needing a tackle for the longest of time. Now, on the right tackle spot, Nicholas Petit-Frere has been playing that, and it didn't look too good last year. And of course, they had a kind of rotating door at that left tackle spot and the right side, on the right tackle spot, and just the right side of that offensive line was a little bit of a rotating door. So this offseason, they took a preemptive step towards fixing that, kind of, sort of. They signed left tackle Dan Moore from the Pittsburgh Steelers, 4 years, I believe, $82 million with $50 million guaranteed. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money to pay that man. And talking to some of my colleagues, of course, he hasn't necessarily been an All-Pro, but he's been a guy that's been solid in some instances. In other instances, you wonder what's going on. But the thing here is, maybe they're banking on him continuing to get better, and then also banking on Bill Callahan to bring the best out of him. But with him coming here and being a left tackle, that means J.C. Latham goes from left tackle to his natural right tackle spot that he actually played in college at Alabama. Immediately strengthens that spot. Hopefully they figure out the guard position, which right now that's up for debate what they're going to do. Whether it be the draft or middle to lower tier free agent there. We'll see what happens, but yeah, that was a good signing, and they needed to get someone in the trenches. So I can understand that signing. It's just definitely to be determined how it works out for them with Mr. Dan Moore. Now, that wasn't the only signing. They did bring in linebacker Cody Barton from the Denver Broncos. Now, he's been out there every single game, every single year. He doesn't miss very many games, doesn't miss very many tackles either, which was a huge thing for the Tennessee Titans when it came to running the football against them. They missed tackles a lot when they got to the second level or filling in gaps. Cody Barton does that well. That's a good thing. Another good thing he does is he's pretty solid in the passing game, which Kenneth Murray is not necessarily the greatest at. Not saying he's horrible, but he's not necessarily the the absolute greatest at that. So in bringing Cody Barton in, you strengthen your linebacker core. You have your Cedric Gray and your James Williams that'll be back there as well. You don't have your you just have those. You have those two guys that'll be there more than likely. You have your Otis Reese as well. That's who they brought back. So it'll just be interesting to see, what the rotation looks like behind those two guys, those two veterans, and how it goes from there. Really didn't get to see Cedric Gray a lot as a rookie last season, so it's going to be interesting to see what the camp looks like for him if he stays healthy during camp as well. That'll be something to watch as well. And then another thing I would say another thing they did too, they were looking for a safety. They kind of struck out on a couple safeties that were out there. The last one being Justin Reed from the Kansas City Chiefs, which actually came down to the Saints and the Titans and one other team, but he ended up signing with the Saints. But they did get Xavier Woods though. He's a safety. He's got 2 years and $10 million. He is a guy that basically is always on the field. He has not missed games. He does not miss games. He's always out there. It's to be determined how he fits next to Amani Hooker. But the best thing about him is he's an available player. And, we'll see what all else comes from that. Pretty solid player. We'll see if he fits in the scheme for the Tennessee Titans. I know one person that won't be fitting in the scheme for the Tennessee Titans. That's on the offensive side of the ball. That's Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. He signs a 2-year deal, $6.5 million. I believe $3 million guaranteed with the Miami Dolphins. I know some Titans fans were sad to see him go. However, it just is what it is. Now you look at the wide receiver core. You got Calvin Ridley, but I'm just not sure what else they're doing with that wide receiver core. We will see what happens next at that position, along with a few other positions for the Tennessee Titans and what they do. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Again, when we come back, we're going to talk some Houston Texans on touring the AFC South.
EBO Beard Butter and EBO Beard Wash are two of the best beard grooming products for men worldwide. They help promote growth, keep your beard moisturized and soft, and enhance your overall upkeep of your facial hair. And with the new promo code MPAFC10, you can get 10% off of these products. Just go to www.etsy.com/shop/EBO Beard Butter. Again, that's www.etsy.com/shop/EBO Beard Butter. And again, the promo code MPAFC10. Again, MPAFC10, where you can get 10% off any products except for beard boxes. So treat your beard better today by going to get these the EBO Beard Butter and EBO Beard Wash.
And we're back on touring the AFC South. That commercial was so nice. I played it twice. Yes, the EBO Beard Butter is definitely the move. Go get it. But like I said about the next segment, we're going to be talking about the Houston Texans, and they definitely went and got some things and let go of some things in free agency. Now, a couple of these things they let go was trades. Yes, Laramie Tunsil, they let him go. They traded him to the Washington Commanders for a 3rd and 7th rounder in 2025 and a 2nd and 4th in 2026. A lot of picks loading up there for the Houston Texans. Giving up a starter. That's a good piece to give up. You're giving up a starter, especially an offensive tackle, and they aren't easy to replace. So we'll see what happens when it comes to that. But that wasn't the only trade they made. They traded for Eagles safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson as well. They traded guard Kenyon Green to the Philadelphia Eagles for him. Now, in adding C.J. Gardner-Johnson, you get a guy that, he definitely plays the game a different way. Now, that's not any slight of him, but he definitely going to get inside your head. He's going to play it aggressive, and that is who he is, and that's how he plays the game, and he's very effective doing so. with his as far as his fit when it comes to the Houston Texans. I could see him lining up alongside Jalen Petrie at safety, and then them kind of permanently moving Jimmy Ward to the slot. I believe that's what they're trying to do. We'll see what happens and if that actually pans out. But I believe they want to put Jimmy Ward more in the slot, which is why they Eric Murray's no longer there. Of course, obviously, he went elsewhere. But moving him to the slot, then having Petrie, and then having C.J. Gardner-Johnson back there, and then you still have the young man Bullock back there as well from USC. So you do have a solid rotation at safety now as well. Then, of course, Kenyon Green, they let go of him. They move him on to Philadelphia. So that's a guard and a tackle that you let go of this offseason for a team that was pretty bad on the offensive line. Now, this sends a message that they're not playing about their offensive line. So, hey, they did go out and sign Laken Tomlinson, who is a veteran and, played for the 49ers, the Seahawks, among one other team, I believe, that he played for as well. But anyway, they signed him to a 1-year, $4.5 million deal to play guard for them. So that's one guy they're bringing in to replace one of their guards. So we'll see what they do in terms of remaking that line because, of course, they cut Shaq Mason, who was one of their guards. Kenyon Green's gone, and now Laramie Tunsil's gone too. So it's going to be interesting to see how they remake that offensive line. More than likely, it'll be more going with draft picks and things like that, and maybe select veterans or value pick veterans. I would say value veterans in terms of maybe not the most expensive, but fits what they need at that time. The reason why I say they probably would go this route is because you're looking at in a couple years, you got C.J. Stroud, or a year or two, I should say. You got C.J. Stroud. You got Derek Stingley Jr. and you got Will Anderson Jr. All three of those guys will be coming up for contract extensions in the next couple of years. You got to save some money somehow to pay those three guys because those are their cornerstones. So that's more than likely why these moves are being made, as well as the bad offensive line play. Now, as far as the other signings, of course, they did sign a special teams player, Trevon Smith, 2-year deal. $7.5 million, but more likely just more of a special teams contributor. They did bring Derek Barnett back, more of a depth piece. They signed Darrell Taylor, a depth piece as well. He is a pass rusher supreme. Well, I would say he's a pass rusher. I'm not going to throw supreme on there. He ain't throwing up double-digit sacks like that. But he played for the Chicago Bears, was traded there from the Seattle Seahawks last season. Didn't get signed back. Now he's playing with the Houston Texans. They brought in Sheldon Rankins, a defensive tackle, and they also signed back Mario Edwards as well. So they're kind of rebuilding their depth up front when it comes to their defensive line. Their offensive line, they haven't quite finished up there, but we'll see what happens and how they build that up. As far as the pieces I forgot one. Justin Watson. They did bring Justin Watson in too, wide receiver from the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, you've got Nico Collins, you've got Christian Kirk. Now you got Justin Watson, a guy that's got Super Bowl experience, has made some crucial catches for Patrick Mahomes. So they're hoping that he can be a guy that can step in and make those crucial catches for C.J. Stroud as well, provided he is standing up straight in the pocket and not running for his life like last year. All right. So, definitely some pieces that have been added to this team that they potentially help, but still a ways to go. Just like all these teams, this free agency, it sounds great and all these pieces sound great, but of course they still have to play when it comes between the dotted lines, or the lines, I should say. Boy, oh boy, it's been fun talking about a lot of these free agents, man. I mean, and it's only going to get crazier as we get closer and closer to the draft. I want to thank you all for tuning into this episode of Touring the AFC South. I am your host, Mike Patton. You can find me on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Mike Patton82. That's MikePaton 82. Also, you can find me the same one on Blue Sky. You can find me on Instagram and Threads at that's THA, not THE, underscore general underscore MP. Touring the AFC South on all listening platforms, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, you name it, we are there. And we are also on the Mike Patton Network. Go ahead and subscribe, whether you like to listen or whether you like to watch me go on and talk about football. But yeah, go ahead and subscribe, click that bell, drop a comment. It's greatly appreciated. I thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Touring the AFC South, going over these free agent moves. We're out. Peace.